Hello, everybody. How's it going? And happy Saturday. This is another episode of The Good Bit Show where we dive into some positive stories related to Bitcoin. So, all the amazing things happening in the world of Bitcoin, unrelated to prices, of course. My name is Taj, also known as Tropic. We are going to dive into some of these stories. And of course, we like to highlight the positive, feel good stories, if you will, that are happening around the world of Bitcoin. We also like to dive into the world of circular economies. And last but not least, we touch the tech that is making all of this adoption in Bitcoin usage possible worldwide. So, those are things that we love to touch on this stream. If this is new to you, I would highly appreciate it and recommend that you just share this out to a friend, anyone that you know that's interested in Bitcoin and might be online on a Saturday afternoon. Let them know that this stream exists. So really appreciate every single person that, as you can see, got the studio set back up, if you will, working on things, rebuilding. But those of you that don't know the pleasures of marriage, there's nothing like going live right before when you realize that your headphones are missing. So, as you can see, I have the big headset here. Love these things for listening, but normally I don't come on stream with them because they're kind of goofy and clunky. But the little ones that I normally use when I go live were cleaned up, if you will. So, you young creators that are out there, really wish that you find your sweetheart, the love of your dream, that will move your things when you're getting ready to go live on a Saturday afternoon to talk about all these amazing things. But let's dive into these stories. Of course, I'm kidding. I absolutely love her. And yeah, she moves my stuff. That's just a part of the deal, right? We said for better or worse, and that's just part of the deal. But this story that you have right here is a movie that came out. This is really cool in the sense that, okay, we always talk about, or not we, but people always talk about Satoshi being found. Who is it? Is this Dorian? Is this Hal Finney? Is this who? Like, there's a list of lots of people uh, that always go down the list, and every single news outlet, if you will, tries to dive deep into this thing because this mysterious founder of this multi-trillion-dollar asset just vanishes, never to be heard from or seen again. It is an amazing Hollywood type of story. So, anyways, this documentary, done in a very interesting way, released in a very interesting way. And again, of course, I'm not going to speculate who Satoshi is, whether it is Hal Finney, it is Len Sassman, whatever. I mean, you make your own conclusions and everything. The reason why I'm highlighting this, number one, it's of course 15 years after the disappearance of Satoshi that this came out. And I find it just very interesting in the way they're distributing it. Of course, in true fashion of decentralization, those of us that love straight to the people, all those things, that's how they're distributing this. So this is not something that you're going to go to Netflix or Amazon Prime or some huge streaming company to find. You just go to their website, which is findingsatoshi.com, and you can stream it. You can check out the trailer. And I think just the graphics, just the way things are, it just looks really cool. And again, what I find really interesting in this is, I guess you would say, the cultural relevance of what Bitcoin is and this whole Satoshi story and everything. And I know to a lot of people, it's just absolutely frustrating, probably tired of hearing about Bitcoin books, Bitcoin movies, trying to figure out who Satoshi is, how this thing could be broken, all these different things. People love to talk about these things. It's a part of our culture now. And I think it's just the staying power of Bitcoin. So yes, we like to speak about all the amazing things that happens in the world of Bitcoin. Of course, this is the people's money. We can do all sorts of decentralized things, spreading global adoption, sidestepping the man, if you will, gatekeepers that lock people out for generations and generations, centuries, millennium, right? That is what Bitcoin solves. And all the money problems, yes, we can talk about all those things, but the cultural impact, whether it is the pizza day, which is coming up. Actually, we're in May. This wasn't even in my notes, just top of my head. May 22nd. Huge Bitcoin pizza day. Globally, people are going to be eating pizza and celebrating Bitcoin and all this stuff. And now, like documentaries and movies and things of that nature, it's just a part of the culture. So I think that just really adds to the staying power of Bitcoin and where we are as a society. So whether or not you're into the finances, whether or not you're into the tech, whether or not you are looking at charts or trying to see what you can buy with your Bitcoin or whatever it might be, just the simple fact that, okay, there's movies, there's cultural references, there's songs with lyrics in it, I think it's just really cool, really worth highlighting. So check this out. I think, again, whether or not this is something that you're really interested in, I just think, if nothing else, the visuals are great. the website is really cool. There's lots of prominent people that are featured in this thing. And of course, Sailor front and center. And all the other people that are in this, I think, our very good friend Gary Ginsler, of course, uh, will be featured in this too as well. And of course, the art, this monument, which is really cool. Again, this like mysterious anonymous in the sense that we don't know who he is, but pseudonymous in that we know the name of Satoshi, but not exactly who he is. So all this work, all these different things, I just think is just really cool. Again, cultural relevance, all this, and this movie trailer, this movie poster right here, I think is just really cool. So if nothing else, I want to share that right there before we go on to, I guess, a feel good story. So something that I speak about all the time on the stream, those of you that don't know, we like to highlight the feel good moments of Bitcoin, if you will, not just the cultural impact, not the tech, all the stuff, but one thing that I found very, very interesting. Again, I have highlighted this company before. The Giving Block is a company that shows all sorts of different charities and different organizations that you can give to using crypto. It's not Bitcoin specific. However, I'm going to highlight this in the sense of course, we are Bitcoiners. We like to talk about Bitcoin. And what better way than to look at platforms such as this, which highlights charities that also have Bitcoin only organizations, et cetera, et cetera. But, anyways, what I really wanted to highlight about this particular story itself is how crypto donors differ from traditional donors. And yes, I know some people, hardcore maxis, that will trigger you. We're not crypto donors, we're Bitcoin donors. I get it. I get it. I get it. But hear me out. This platform, again, like I said, it's not Bitcoin specific, and the greater ecosystem, and especially these charities, they're going to call Bitcoin crypto. I'm not going to argue that with anyone. It is what it is. If you want to give to a cause, that's cool. But how they differ from the traditional donors, which I find very interesting, is that they are younger, right? So a lot of the times when I think of philanthropy, I think of charities, I think of rich old folks, right? That's what I think of. I think of people with their lap dogs, people with their elbow patches and their pipes. That's what I think of. Even though, yes, I donate to causes, I do all sorts of charity work, etc. myself. Still, in my mind, when I think of donor, I think of rubbing elbows with the scotch drinking, cigar smoking crowd, right? That's what I think of. But, anyways, these crypto donors are younger, so in their 30s and 40s, compared to the traditional donors who have an average of their early 60s. So yes, when we think of donations, we think of philanthropy, we think of these things, it's like an older person. But crypto people, causes, we are boots on the ground, we're into all of this stuff. So comfortable donating to donating non-cash assets, highly values driven. So why are we into Bitcoin? Because obviously we see the value proposition that it offers, right? That resonates with us. Those of us that are millennials, such as myself, grew up in the Great Recession, if you will, when the financial crisis and all these crazy things were happening. We were there for the dot-com boom and the bust and like all this stuff. And like, yeah, this system really has some serious issues. Bitcoin resonates with us. Gen Z, a lot of people don't know. Gen Z starts saving for retirement way earlier than any previous generation. They have Bitcoin investments. They have stock market investments. They have mutual funds, ETFs. Like they're really focused on the future. So when it comes to donations and future causes and helping society, all these different things, it really is interesting that these younger donors are also donating with Bitcoin. So highly values driven, digitally engaged, and strategically tax aware. So a lot of people don't even know what tax bracket they're in and so forth. Yet a lot of the times, it's like much to my surprise, I speak to some guys that are much younger than me, barely 20s, as my my great granny would say, they barely have any feathers on their chin, and they they're thinking about how to mitigate their taxes, which is something that I never even thought about until like my 30s. Like, honestly, I didn't necessarily think about that in my 20s. But these kids are coming out like some teenagers. So, financially savvy individuals have come into Bitcoin. And of course, they're not abandoning all their goals. So, this kind of spits in the face of these crypto bro narratives. These Bitcoiners are just anarchists that are just down with the system and they just want to get rich and creating money out of nothing and whatever. But like the donors, very, very, very young people that have gravitated towards this technology for the obvious reasons are also donating. So I find that very interesting myself. And you can look into the Giving Block. Again, this is not a Bitcoin specific platform. However, as you navigate through this, you can see various charities, read their profiles, learn about them, and so on. So if you're down with the cause of, let's say, Save the Children, which I highlighted last week, which really interesting, by the way. If you didn't check last week's stream, I highly recommend you go back to that one, scroll down the Wolf Bitcoin page, and go to the last Good Bit stream, which was last Saturday afternoon. And I was speaking about Save the Children. So Save the Children, if in case you didn't catch that stream, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but they're taking all those donations and locking them up for 4 years because they understand the time value proposition that Bitcoin offers. That yes, you're going to be able to do good with this money. However, in 4 years, if it is donations or in Bitcoin, rather than cashing that out and using the fiat value and distributing that right away, hold it for 4 years because you're going to be able to distribute more. Now, really, really interesting stuff there. But American Cancer Society, we all hate cancer. St. Jude's, love the children. I remember when I was in high school, actually even elementary school, that we used to collect pennies and stuff, send it to St. Jude's. But now we can send sats, right? So really cool stuff there. PETA, you're an animal lover. United Way, all of these different things. And again, you just read about all of them. And the thing with these organizations and so forth, their wallets are public, all this stuff, you can look into it. And yes, I know you can go into all sorts of shenanigans on how they could sidestep this stuff. However, I just know and I like the fact that these transactions are there. Giving Block likes to track all of this stuff. And every year at the end of the year, they give out a total as to how much was donated through crypto rails and so on. They don't differentiate, like I said, in segment to say this is how much Bitcoin was given. However, it's just really cool that I believe it was 2025. I think one of the first streams that I did, the first stream of January, if you will, shattered the record. Over 300 million, et cetera, was given. It was just an amazing year last year. And this year seems like we're on pace to break that. So all the bad news that you hear about crypto bros and all the scams that's going on and all this stuff, well, guess what? People are using their Bitcoin, they're putting it to use, and you can find charities and ways to do that. And it's just really cool. So with that said, let's hop to the next story, right? So this is a little bit more of a techie story. And again, we have no affiliation with this company whatsoever, Exodus. We are not promoting it per se. However, I'm highlighting this because it's very interesting on a couple fronts. Number one, that it solves a problem for US Bitcoiners that is out there, right? So, yes, you can use a platform like any of Jack Dorsey's apps and what he's building on how to spark the circular economy. And he's very US focused because his company Block, et cetera, Cash App, all these very things are US focused, like a lot of US users. However, right, this is a global thing. Bitcoin goes everywhere. And the interesting thing with this Exodus wallet, those of you that might know their wallet and so on, they're creating an everything app. This is not a new concept of something that just popped up with them. This is something that has been going on for quite a while with an everything app. Everyone's trying to do this. Even X, we're here on with Elon. They're trying to do X Pay, which originally was supposed to be integrated in X as a standalone, do everything in one place platform. However, at this point, it seems like they're trying to branch that off and make it its own separate app. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Robinhood's trying to do something. SoFi, like lots of companies are trying to do these things. But anyways, the reason why I'm highlighting this in particular is because it solves a problem in the US. If you saw I believe it was Bankless, if I'm not mistaken, Vlad, who is the CEO of Robinhood, was speaking about why stable coins are not being used in the US, et cetera, where they're exploding internationally. And his exact quotes were, I think the US will be a laggard in this category, right? So he said, why would that be a laggard? It's because the conveniences of US apps, like I said, Cash App and all those other things, Venmo, PayPal, et cetera, it's not really a strong pain point in the US. People have user-friendly apps. They don't want to jump through hoops to use Bitcoin or any other tech, right? So they just stick to what they're comfortable with, and people give up their freedoms and their privacy and all this stuff for convenience. Like they do it time and time again. They just accept all cookies, all the stuff. But going to this Exodus Pay, very, very simple in the sense that in the way, and again, I am not endorsing this. I'm just saying how they're rolling this thing out. And of course, right here, front and center, you have the Visa debit card. You're seeing all those things. And again, in that interview, Vlad also spoke about how people are not opting away from their debit cards to go use Bitcoin or to use stable coins or whatever it is in the US. Like it's happening around the world because a lot of people have no bank account. They can't have access to these cards. However, in the US, you don't see that happening. And in this, like, so you see this as a sending money as easy as a DM, right? Like these phones are being held up and like cash value. Again, same proposition of like a cash app or any of these things, just ease of use. That's what US consumers are looking for. So whether or not you will ever use this, that's not what I'm trying to say. But you can connect Bitcoin up to this and you can use this at tap to pay. You can use this at NFT card reading apps. You can use this in Google Pay and Apple Pay, Apple Wallet, whatever you want to call it, and all of these different things, just like you'd use any other thing. So I find it very interesting that they're bridging this gap. And again, closing the ease of use, because many of us that are in this space, we are perfectly fine writing down our phrases, uh, self custody, doing all the crazy stuff that is necessary to do that. And like, by the way, this is self custody, so I'm not gonna have the Exodus team try to run me down or whoever it is, the Exodus people, or in the comments. Let me see if there's anyone coming in saying I used it. You said it wasn't self custody. uh, it is not. I'm not even sure what that comment means, but um, so as far as what's going on here, I don't want to say it's not self custody, but what I mean is the ease of use, not exactly what we are used to when we're talking about using sats on Lightning or whatever it might be. But going back to the whole thing, know your audience, know your customers, right? Just like how most of us will never keep our Bitcoin on centralized exchange, right? Certain people, actually the majority of people do. Like they'll get ETFs, they'll have it in centralized exchanges, mostly in Coinbase in the US, et cetera, et cetera. And, the problem being solved for various people, you can opt into what you're comfortable with. And this is just one of the cool solutions. And what I find interesting with this is not that, yes, you can use it as a debit card and go spend this anywhere and things of that nature. And even Walmart actually recently has an integration to allow people to spend their Bitcoin in store. That's using third party stuff, and it gets kind of convoluted. It's not like you just walk up straight and just use your Bitcoin Lightning wallet and just purchase things at Walmart. But you go through a second layer and whatever. That's not the story here. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it is a ease of use issue, and when people walk into the store, they want to spend their money. They don't want to figure out stuff. It's just an easy onboarding. Earlier, we were talking about the cultural impact of Bitcoin and stories and these movies and how they're featured in songs and so forth. Well, it's kind of the same thing when it comes to ease of use in the technology. So you're going to have reviewers all over YouTube. You're going to have people such as myself talking about this stuff. And this resonates with people a lot more than writing down phrases, etc. And if you don't believe me, that means you have never tried to onboard anyone, where the conversation always ends at, how about I give you money and you keep the Bitcoin for me? I'm like, no, that defeats the whole purpose, right? Usually when I try to orange pill or onboard or educate people about what's going on here, that's how the conversation ends. And it's like a back and forth, like, well, if you love me, then you take my money. Like basically is how it ends up. And it's like, no, like you're defeating the purpose of what I'm trying to do. But anyways, the idea of different regions, different people, different groups, and so on, how Bitcoin is so very different because it solves different problems for different people, because not everyone has the same problem. So in that regard, I want to bring up this particular interview right here. This actually took place a little while ago. This is about a month ago. This interview took place. Now, Coin Stories and Natalie Brunell, those of you that don't know, she's been in the game for a very long time, talking about Bitcoin, interviewing the top people from Sailor all the way down to a random pleb. Anyone that is in this Bitcoin ecosystem, like she has covered like the wide range of everything in person and so forth. Just came from the Bitcoin conference and I saw clips and everyone's trying to talk to Natalie, right? But anyways, this particular one right here, I find it to be by far my favorite. Oops. Yeah. My favorite interview. Screen just jumped on me for a second there. My favorite interview that she has ever done. And I absolutely love it. And the reason why I am saying to look this up, the untold Bitcoin boom in Africa, is because it highlights Bitcoin in a very different way than anything you'll ever see in the Western world. Now, I spend a lot of time speaking about the circular economies and all the various things that's happening in Africa. And I know I just spent so much time on this US one, and I didn't necessarily go into the circular economies, but yes, spending money, spending your Bitcoins, keeping the sats in rotations might not be the perfect example using the Exodus Pay. However, the idea of using Bitcoin as money, right, is something that is very common in Africa. And this conversation right here, thought the reason why I think this is her best interview, she's done lots of great interviews, but this one is a top shelf interview, in my opinion, is because he makes a point of saying, like, it's when we in Africa see how you guys talk about, oh, Bitcoin's price is up or price is down and all this stuff, we just laugh and roll our eyes because, like, 10% here, 15% there, whatever, it means absolutely nothing to us because Bitcoin solves serious monetary problems that are on this continent, such as not being able to move money, also businesses not being able to get loans and etc. And Bitcoin allows us to use collateralized loan capital to flow into businesses, cross border payments, and all these different things in a very interesting way that they could not do before. There's lots of monetary problems in really everywhere. But in this particular conversation, not once did they go into price talk or anything of that nature. And he almost mocked the idea of a price conversation. So I would say highly recommend that you go watch that. I'm not even going to play the clip here because the sound and such might not work out. But what I will say that this one, again, like I said, is just by far one of my best. Go check out the African Bitcoin Company and what their CEO, Stafford Massey, is doing and how he's talking about this stuff. I found it to be absolutely amazing. So if you love this kind of stuff, like what I'm doing right here, of course, I would highly recommend and appreciate it if you just kind of drop a comment, share this out to a friend, let everybody know that there's some positive Bitcoin stories happening over here on Wolf Bitcoin on Saturday afternoons, Saturday evenings, depending where you are in the world. Could be Sunday morning for all I know where you are. This is a global thing, but let us know what your thoughts are, what stories you'd like to be highlighted, what you'd like to dive into. Definitely shoot us a message. Let us know your thoughts, comments, concerns, whether it is in this Bitcoin ecosystems, someone that I'm leaving out, not highlighting, giving enough love to, or whatever it might be. Just let us know. We just love to hear from you guys. And as usual, we have a full schedule, all the amazing stuff. Spaces, Cade is an absolute warrior. Just check out the schedule that's pinned to the top of the Wolf Bitcoin page every single week. Has all the spaces, the live streams, interviews, great, amazing content every single day. Even Sunday evenings, there is a discussion space that will be going live. So those of you that have never tuned in, again, this has been the Good Bit Show. My name is Taj, aka Tropic. We are going to be here every single week talking about all the amazing things that's happening in the world of Bitcoin. And hopefully this is a bright spot of your day. This is my favorite piece of content that I put out every single week, diving into all the stuff and getting to share it with the Western world that might not even heard of these stories. Have you ever heard of the African Bitcoin Company or their CEO here? Have you heard about any of these stories that I necessarily covered? Probably not. I don't know, depending where you are in the world, but love to hear your thoughts on it. I will see you next week. As usual, it is always great to be here with you guys. And again, without you, I'd be talking to myself, right? It would just be me nerding out on Bitcoin, but you guys make this whole thing happen as an audience. So really appreciate every single one of you. And again, share this with a friend. We will see you next week.